Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. Let's continue lesson number 21 and inshallah hopefully we will complete it today. In this lesson we are going to discuss about different ideas. Some of them we have discussed already in detail. And this one might be a new idea, which is al-badalu. So it's basically badala yabdulu, and masdar will be badalun or badalun. So it's basically masdar al-badalu. And it means to basically substitute or exchange something with something. Aina akhuka Hashimun? Where is your brother Hashim? And this is the example that we took in lesson number 1 of book 3. So what is badal basically? There are two nouns or two words or two ideas that come together. And the focus is not on the first noun, the focus is on the second noun or it's on the last noun. So you mentioned two things. The thing that is not required is mentioned first, and the thing that is required is mentioned after that. So that is called badal. For example, when we say Aina akhuka Hashimun, where is your brother Hashim? Now when we say Aina akhuka, it's not clear, like maybe you have two brothers or three brothers, and we don't know which one are you talking about. But when we say Aina akhuka Hashimun, and now this is a substitute for akhuka, so the emphasis is on Hashim and not on the brother. So the last noun, as we discussed, is called badal, and the noun that comes before it is called mubdal minhu. So this is substitute, and this is where or what it is substituted from, badal and mubdal minhu. In the lesson it was natasa'alu anil imtihani kayfa yakun. We are asking about the exam, how it is going to be like. So where is the emphasis? Is it on the exam, or is it on like the procedure of the exam? So we have here exam, and then we have the method of the exam, kayfa yakun, and we will see in detail that badal can be a complete sentence, it can be mufrad, it can be a noun. There are many possibilities. So here basically noun imtihan is a noun, and the substitute is a complete sentence, which is kayfa yakun, how it is going to be like. هنا كيف يكون بدل من الامتحان وفي التنزيل and in the Quran يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها. They ask you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the hour, when is its arrival. So the first noun that has been mentioned is as-sa'a, and as we know that the non-believers during those times, they did not have any doubt about the hour. Their focus was like, is it going to happen, and if it is going to happen, when it is going to happen, and that's why they would ask Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam about it. So anis-sa'ati is the mubdal minhu, and ayyana mursaha is the badal. Ayyana is used in the context of mata, so it means when. It means when. That's why it is a dharf. It's a dharf. However, it is used for bigger events, and it is not used in the beginning of the sentence. Whereas we use mata al-ikhtibaru, mata al-imtihanu, when is the exam, in the beginning of the sentence. Ayyana is not used in the middle of the sentence. That's the beginning of the sentence. That's number one. And number two, it is used for bigger events. Mursa is basically form number 4. Arsa yursi irsa'an, and mursa is maful bihi. And also the grammarians say it is maful bihi, and also it is masdar al-mimi because it starts with mim. So they ask about, so this is asa is mubdal minhu, and ayyana mursaha, as we can see over here, is a substitute of when is it going to take place. So where is the emphasis? Is it on asa, or where it is on when it is going to be? So when we have two nouns, or when we have a noun and a complete sentence, this is the complete sentence. Ayyana is a dharf, and we know that dharf cannot be mubtada, it is khabar, and mursaha is mubtada. So this is mubtada muakhar, and this is khabar muqaddam. So this is a complete sentence. So asa is mubdal minhu, and ayyana mursaha is badal. Al badalu arba'atu anwa'in wahiya, and the badal is of four kinds, and they are, so there are four kinds of badal. We will look at them one by one. Badal al kulli min al kulli, nahwu najaha akhuka muhammadun. So this is called total or absolute substitution. So here we can see najaha akhuka, and muhammadun is the name of the brother. So here Muhammad is the same as akhuka. So it is the same, so that's why it is called absolute substitution. Badalul kulli min al kulli. So this is complete substitution. Then we have badalul ba'di min al kulli. Nahwu akaltu dajajata nisfaha. Nisfaha, so we have partial substitution, partial. Not complete. The first one is badal al kul min al kul, and now we have badal al ba'd min al kul, partial substitution. So when you say akaltu ad dajajata, you are not saying that you ate it all, you are saying that you ate half of it. Nisfaha. So here the first noun, and then here is the second noun, so the emphasis on the second noun. So I ate the chicken, half of it. So this is basically badal from ad dajaja. You can also say akaltu ad-dajaja or ad-dajajata kullaha, I ate all of it. But when you say kullaha, then that is used for emphasis. But here it is used as badal. So here nisf is part of ad-dajaja. So when it's part of something, it has to be part of that. It shouldn't be something completely different, part of something. So that is called badalul ba'di min al-kulli. The third one is badalul ishtimali, nahwu a'jabani hadha al-kitabu uslubuhu. And this is comprehensive badal, as it's clear from the name, ishtimal, comprehensive. So here you say, I like this book, but then the emphasis is not on the book, the emphasis is on what? On the style of the book. So here uslub is not the same as al-kitab, nor is it part of it, but it is something contained in it. So please remember that when we say badalul ishtimal, it is not part of it, but somehow it is connected to it. So you say ajabani hadal kitabu, I like this book, and then if you say ajabani hadal kitabu, I like this book, the meaning is clear. But if you want to bring something extra, then you will bring the substitute. So you say ajabani hadal kitabu uslubuhu, I like this book, and more importantly, I like the style of the book. Here is another example, as we discussed in the beginning of the lesson. Natasa'alu anil imtihani kayfa yakun. We are asking about the exam, how it is going to be or how it will be. So imtihan is the noun, and the complete sentence is a substitute, like how it is going to be like. And the last one is al-badalul mubayyinu, bayana yubayyinu mubayyanatan, and also it is called al-badalul ghalat, yani the wrong substitution. What does that mean? You wanted to say something, but you said something else. For example, you say nahwu, for example, a'tani al-kitaba ad-daftara. So basically, you didn't want the book, you wanted the notebook, but by mistake you said al-kitaba. So that is the substitute, as we have seen over here. So also, what do we call it? Badalul ghalat. So dissimilar badal, or the wrong substitution. Give me the book, I mean the notebook. So he meant, or I meant the notebook, and I didn't mean the book itself. So here the intended word is ad-daftaru, but by mistake the speaker said al-kitaba, and then he corrected himself. So when we say something by mistake and when we correct it, then it becomes al-badal al-mubayyan or al-badal al-ghalat. So there are four types. Badal al-kulli min al-kulli, which is the absolute substitution. Then badal al-ba'di min al-kulli, which is like some of it or part of it as a substitution. Then we have badal al-ishtimali, as we have seen, like where we have comprehensiveness of something, And then we have al-badal al-mubayyinu, which is basically al-badal al-ghalatu, a dissimilar substitution. Is this clear? I hope. Are there any questions? We have, inshallah, more examples, and we have more details. If it's clear, we can proceed.
Yes, sister.
Okay, so the noun for which the badal is the substitute is called mubdal minhu, as I told you in the beginning of the class today or the lesson, that the last noun is called badal and the noun that comes before it is called al mubdal minhu, the substituted, from which it is substituted. So when we say Aina ibnuka Bilalun, the word Bilalun is the badal and ibnuka is the mubdal minhu. Where is your son Bilal? Now something very important over here. La yushtaratu fil badali. It is not conditioned or it is not conditional. An yutabiqa. Tabaqa yutabiqu mutabaqatan, to be suitable or to suit. Al mubdala minhu fit tarifi wa tankiri. It is not, yes?
We should not repeat this thing.
No, I mean, you mean this idea?
No, we should. That's what. Just explain, Ustad. I was just telling the translation.
Okay. So, badal doesn't have to be in coordination with being definite and indefinite. So, mubdal minhu can be a common noun and badal can be a proper noun, or it can be vice versa. So, it's not necessary that they should be equal in tarif wa tankir. They should be equal in being definite and indefinite. So, this is very important because it's different from masuf sifa. We know masuf sifa are equal in 4 things, but here it's not like that. For example, you see over here, you say أعرف لغتين الفرنسية والإسبانية. I know 2 languages, French and Spanish. Here لغتين is indefinite noun. لغتان لغتين لغتين, it's a common noun. But الفرنسية والإسبانية are definite or they are proper nouns. So it's not necessary that badal and mubdal minhu should be equal in tarif and tankir. They should be equal in definiteness and indefiniteness. So this point is clear?
Yes, sister.
Okay. Now, what is substituted from what? Now we can see over here, yubdalul ismu min al ismi. The badal and the mubdal minhu may be, both of them can be nouns. For example, yas'alunaka anish shahri, and then the sifa of the shahr is shahr al-harami, qitalin fihi, fighting or warfare in it. So here they're asking about the month, but what's the focus on? Is it about the month or is it on the warfare? Here, the second. Yes, Alunaka and Ishari. When you talk about first thing,
In which the war is not supposed to happen.
yeah. So
War.
yeah, but the focus is not on shahr. The focus is on fighting, isn't it? Qital, warfare. So يسألونك عن الشهر الحرام قتال فيه. So they ask you regarding the sacred month, regarding warfare in it. So what basically they are asking about is about qital and not about the month. So the focus is on the second noun, as I told you. Shahr is a proper noun, we can see over here. It's definite, but qital is indefinite, as we discussed that it's not necessary that they should be equal in being common noun or proper noun. So it can be substitute from a noun, Wal fi'lu min al fi'li, both be verbs and both of them can be verbs. وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ يَلْقَى أَثَامًا. So yalqa is the verb over here. يُضَاعَفْ لَهُ الْعَذَابِ. And then we have another verb over here. So yalqa and yudaf, both of them are majzoom. Why are they majzoom?
Because it's conditional.
Yeah, because of man. Excellent. And that's why we can see here that we have, as we can see, badalul fi'li min al fi'li. Yalqa is majzoom and yudaf is majzoom, and both of them are verbs. So وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ يَلْقَى أَثَامًا يُضَاعَفْ لَهُ الْعَذَابُ. And what will happen to that person? The torment will be doubled. May Allah protect us from this. So here we have, and these are basically two verses. So what's gonna happen is there is a badal of verb from the verb, substitute of a verb on a verb. Wal jumlatu min al jumlati, and both can be sentences. واتقوا الذي أمدكم بما تعملون تعلمون sorry, and then أمدكم بأنعام وبنين. So here we have a complete sentence. أمدكم, it's a complete sentence. بما تعملون, and then we have أمدكم بأنعام وبنين. So here we have badal of a sentence from a sentence. So both of them are sentences. What kind of sentences are those?
Jumlatul ismiya.
Ismi, excellent, because they start with a noun, and this is also, it also starts with a noun. Wal jumlatu min al mufradi, and they can be different, the first being a sentence and the second a noun, or vice versa. So afala yanzuruna ila al ibili kayfa khuliqat. So al ibili is mufrad and kayfa khuliqat is the complete sentence over here. Al ibil, so what's basically ibil? Camels?
She camel, Ustad.
The she camel is naqa, and then we have camel, which is jamal, and the whole race of camels is called ibil. Like we have insan, we have imraatun, and we have imraun, we have rajulun, and we have yes, inasun, yeah. But we have we have a man and a woman, right? So we have dhakarun wa untha. But as a race, what are we called? We are called human beings, right? So as a race, we are insan or unas, yeah, inas and unas, both of them. So here it basically refers to the race of the animals, which includes both like naqatun, which is basically she camel, and jamalun as well. So here we have the singular noun al-ibil, which is noun, and then we have the complete sentence over here, kaifa khuliqat, how it was or how they have been created. So al jumlatu min al mufradi. So here we have, in the first we have a word, only mufrad, and then the badal is the complete sentence. يسألونك عن الامتحان كيف يكون, and أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت. And here kaifa is hal, inshallah we will discuss about it. It is hal, and khuliqat is, we know this is basically passive form, past form, and it is passive. Khuliqa, and then for the feminine it is khuliqat, yani hiya khuliqat. Alright, so after that we move on to something we have been discussing, I think, from the beginning of book number 2. Al-ahrufu or hurufun, it has two plurals, plural of harf. Al-mushabbahatu bil-fi'li, the particles that resemble the verb. Hiya sittatun wa hiya inna wa anna wa ka'anna wa lakinna wa layta wa la'alla. So how do they resemble the verb? They resemble the verb in 2 points. Number 1, in their meaning. So in the meaning they resemble the verb. For example, inna and anna mean I emphasize. So it's basically I emphasize in Allah Ghafurur Rahim. So yani I emphasize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiving. And similarly, ka'anna means I liken or I like, or I liken basically. Lakinna, I correct. And layta, I wish. And la'alla, I hope or I fear. As we know that la'alla has 2 meanings. So why are they called al-uhrafu al-mushabbahatu bil-fi'li? They resemble verb, and number 1 in their meaning, and number 2 in their grammatical function. For just as a verb renders maf'ul bihi and it makes the maf'ul bihi mansub, in the same way these particles render their ism mansub. So in the verb there is a file, and then there is maf'ul bihi, and we know that maf'ul bihi is always mansub, and similarly we know that ismu inna is also mansub. So that's why it is called that they resemble the verb. So that's why they are called with that name. What are the meanings? We have discussed in detail the meanings of these particles many times. So we know that inna wa anna tufidani, because they are 2 and they are feminine. Because please remember that inna is kalima, and we know that kalima is feminine. So whenever we have ha, we have to remember that ha refers to inna. And why it is feminine? Because inna is kalima and kalima is feminine. Tufidani at-tawkida. Nahwu, for example, they signify emphasis. For example, inna Allah. So here we can see that it is mansub, and then shadidul iqab is marfu. Basically, shadid is khabaru inna, and ismul jalala is ismu inna, and we know that the noun that follows inna is always mansub. Wa'lamu anna Allah shadidul iqab. And here we have anna, and I'm sure you can tell me why we have anna over here.
Because it's in the middle of the
Because in the
sentence.
middle of the sentence.
Excellent. Yeah, it's in the middle of the
Alama,
sentence, or it is after the verb.
alama, it will be anna only.
Yeah. So inna,
Ala
generally inna comes in the beginning of the sentence, and anna comes in the middle of the sentence, or it comes after the verb. Wa'lamu anna Allah shadidul iqab. And know that Allah is indeed. So we can see over here indeed and also indeed, as we know that both of them are used for emphasis as we are in punishment. كأن تفيد التشبيه. كأن signifies resemblance. كأن العلم نور. It is as if knowledge is light. وقد تفيد الظن. It may also signify doubt. So why it is translated as it may? Because when we use qad with the present tense, it is translated as may. You remember? When it is used.
It is certainty.
Sorry?
With past tense, it is certainty. When
Yeah.
with present, it is a probability.
It's a probability, but that is min ghair al-Quran, other than the Quran. But in the Quran, whether it is used with the past tense or the present tense, it is also used for emphasis only. And here it is because it gives the meaning of may, because it is used with the verb that is like general verb. And also it gives the meaning of doubt. كأنني أعرفك. It looks as if I know you. So here it is doubt. So it gives two meanings, tashbih and adhan. لكن تفيد الاستدراك. It signifies correction when you want to correct something. حامد ذكي ولكنه كسلان. Hamid is intelligent, but he is lazy. So we have two ideas over here. And basically when we have two opposite or different ideas, we use lakinna or we use but. Layta tufidu at-tamanni. Layta signifies at-tamanni. As we know, layta shababa ya'udu. Would that youth returned. Yes. ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا. Yeah, so it's basically it signifies wish.
Something which is impossible.
Yeah, something that is almost impossible to achieve. Yeah. And then we have لعل تفيد الترجي والإشفاق. Now it signifies two things. It signifies hope and fear. لعل الله يغفر لي. I hope Allah will forgive me. Inshallah. All of us. وَلَعَلَّ الْجَرِيحَ يَمُوتُ. I'm afraid the wounded man might die. So we can see over here we have the meaning of hope. And whenever لَعَلَّ is used with respect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it always means hope. And when it's not with respect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it could be both. It could be hope and it could be fear. As we can see over here, I fear or I'm afraid that the wounded man might die. Now we have two, I would say, stepsisters of inna. Why do I say stepsisters? Because they have similar function and similar usage, but they are not included in the sisters of inna. So for some reason the grammarians, I don't know, I tried to figure out but couldn't find any reason. They are not considered as to be the sisters of inna. However, as I said, they are the stepsisters of inna. As we can see over here, this one, bi-anna, is closer to ka-anna, as we can see over here. So bi-anna, closer to, not in the meaning. That, and we have the example from the Quran. Alam ya'lam bi-anna Allah yara. So we can see over here that bi-anna, we know that whenever we have inna or anna, after that the noun is mansub. So this is, we will say ismu bi-anna, and yara is khabaru bi-anna. So it functions similar to that. And also it means because, and the example from the Quran, بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ أَوْحَى لَهَا, because your Lord has inspired, i.e., commanded it. So bi'anna is also one of the particles that we have learned, and I think it's worth mentioning to know and to keep them close to inna wa akhawatuha, so that we know that these two also exist. And then we have li anna. We discussed in lesson number 4 of book 2, and it means because. And the examples I have taken from the same lesson. ما خرجت من البيت لأن الجو بارد. So you can see here لأن الجو. So the noun that comes after that is mansub, and then ismu لأن is mansub, and خبر لأن is baridun, which is marfu'. I did not go out of the house because the weather is cold, and we know that the attached pronouns can be used with all of them. ذهب إبراهيم إلى المستشفى لأنه مريض, because he is sick. So لأنه here, which one will be اسم لأن?
Who?
Who?
The
Excellent.
attached
Yeah. So whenever we have the attached pronoun, it will always be ismu. Whatever
pronoun.
particle we have, it will be the ismu of that particle, and then there will be khabar after that. So these two, please write them down or note them down, because we have learned about them, and one of them has been used in the Quran, but about lianna, I didn't find an example, so I don't want to say it's not used because I'm not sure about it, but I think it's not used in the Quran, lianna. Little bit more information. I know it's getting a little bit like, because we have learned so many times about in inna wa akhawatuha, but this information is more important because this is something which we need to focus on. تخفيف نون المشددة. يقع تخفيف في حروف أربعة وهي إن أن لكن and كأن. 4 particles from sisters of inna are also used as light. What does that mean? They are used without tashdid.
Shaddad.
Yeah, do you remember an example we discussed in lesson number 19? Yeah, and we have it
Yeah.
over here. So what happens when they are mukhaffaf or mukhaffafa? When they are light, what happens?
There's no, that property of inna itself is cancelled, Ustad. They don't
Excellent.
behave
Yeah.
like the same way.
So it does not render the noun following it mansub, so it does not make the noun mansub. As we can see over here, لكن الظالمون اليوم في ضلال مبين. But the wrongdoers are today in manifest error. So we can see over here that it is a zalimuna and not a zalimina. So that means the function that it basically performs.
So it will basically function like a conjunction, Ustad.
Yeah, so it's similar to that. Yeah. However, the meaning will be the same. Yeah, but it functions as conjunction, as you said. Yeah. Okay. And the second thing, what happens? It may also be used in a verbal sentence. Inna wa akhawatuha are not used with the verbal sentence, but this one can be used with the verbal sentence. Walakin la yash'urun. La yash'urun, as we know that yash'urun is a verb, but they do not perceive in the Quran. So this is one thing that we need to remember, and this is we have already discussed in lesson number 19. Light inna, as we say inna al-mukhaffafa, is always followed by emphatic lam. So whenever you see in, you know that in is also used for condition. So if in case you are confused whether it is used for condition or it is light in or light inna, so you will always confirm it that after, whenever it is used as light in the Quran, after that it comes with the emphatic lam, as we can see over here. Wa inna dhunnuka liminal kadhibin. So lamin al kadhibin, in fact. So wa inna dhunnuka lamin al kadhibin, and in fact we consider you to be one of the liars.
Surely should come. Surely.
Sorry.
Because surely should come, no, Ustad. There's no particle of emphasis over there.
Where?
Surely. And in fact,
Yeah, here,
after
because
that,
yeah, or indeed, yeah, because here it's light, it's mukhaffaf, it's basically inna, but you know, as we discussed, that it can be used light as well. But when it is used as light, then what happens? It is followed by an emphatic lam, as you can see over
it
here.
doesn't reflect in the translation, Ustad. That lam of emphasis, it will not reflect in the translation.
It depends.
Surely because
Yes, it depends on the translator, because like there are different translations. Yeah, so it depends. Sometimes they like to translate both, and sometimes they only emphasize on one.
Okay.
However, we know as like students of the Quran, we know that both of them are used for emphasis. So we know exactly what it means. And the reason why we are learning Arabic, inshallah, is that because we can like get rid of the translation and we can directly understand and focus and see what exactly it means. تدخل هذه الأحرف. So what are these? إن وأخواتها على المبتدأ والخبر فتنسب
They do.
الأول. Yeah, and the first one becomes منسوب ويسمى اسمها, and it's called its اسم. وترفع الآخر آخر, and it gives رفع to the last one. ويسمى خبرها, and it is called its خبر. نحو, we have الله غفور. So al mubtada wal khabaru. So ismul jalala is mubtada and ghafuran is khabar. But when we use inna with that, we know two changes will take place. Number one, it becomes mansub. Number two, it becomes emphatic. And number three, it is not mubtada and khabar anymore. Now it becomes ismu inna and khabaru inna when we talk about these two. Allah and Ghafurun. Inna Allah Ghafurun. So ismu and inna and khabaru inna. I hope you remember everything about it because we have discussed in detail starting from lesson number, book number 2. Min ahkam ismuha or ismiha wa khabariha. Now we look at the rulings, some of the rulings of ismu inna and khabaru inna. What are those? Yajuzu an yakuna ismuha nakiratan. So its ism can be nakira. Nahwu, for example, كأن شيئا لم يحدث, as if nothing has happened. But what's the condition? Unlike the mubtada, the ismu inna may be indefinite if the khabar is a verbal sentence. So lam yahduth is a khabar. So if the khabar is a verbal sentence, then there is a possibility that ismu ka'anna or ismu inna can be a common noun. It can be an indefinite noun. So this is one of the possibilities that can happen over here. Please just like note them down or write them down. That's number one. Number two, khabaruha. Ha refers to what? Ha refers to inna.
The inna. The
Yeah,
part
and
of it.
akhawatu inna. Khabaruha ka khabar al mubtada'i imma mufradun. So its khabar can be mufrad, a singular noun, wa imma jumlatun, and it can be a sentence, wa imma shibhu jumlatin, and it can be a shibhu jumla. Just to check your knowledge, what is shibhu jumla?
Mudaf, mudaf ilayh, and
No.
jar majroor.
Jar
Jar
majroor
majroor.
and dharf plus mudaf ilayh.
Yeah,
Dharf plus
yeah.
mudaf ilayh. Yeah, okay. So just like the khabaru inna may be mufrad, it can be jumla, and it can be shibhu jumla. Inna Allah sari'ul hisab. So we are focusing on the khabar, not on the ism. So as we can see over here, sari'ul hisab is a complete construction, but this is not a complete sentence. This is basically a compound construction, which is mudaf alayh. And please remember that mudaf alayh is incomplete construction. It's not a complete sentence. So that's why it is considered as mufrad, and it is considered as singular. So ismu inna, we know that is always marfu, but we are not focusing on that. We are focusing on khabaru inna. So here khabaru inna is what? It is mufrad, yani it is just a single word. Then khabaru inna can be jumla, and we know that sentence is of two types: verbal sentence, and then we have nominal sentence. So inna allaha yaghfiru dhunuba jami'a. So we can see over here that this complete construction is khabaru inna. Inna allaha indahu ilmu sa'ati. So this is a nominal sentence, as we can see over here. Indahu ilmu sa'ati. I said it's a nominal sentence.
Khabar
How?
is muqaddam.
Excellent.
Khabar is muqaddam.
مبتدا مؤخر and خبر مقدم, or عنده can be مبتدا as well, because عنده is ظرف plus مضاف إليه. So it's a complete construction,
No,
isn't it?
No, but it's Gulf, and you said once it cannot
Yes,
be.
remember it can never be مبتدا jar majroor and Dharf
Zarf
plus
and
mudaf ilayh. Yeah,
mudaf ilayh.
dharf I should say, yeah. So let's focus on that. Okay, so we will say ilmu sa'ati is mubtada and indahu is khabar muqaddam. So this is the complete nominal sentence. However, when we talk about inna, so we say ismul jalala is ismu inna and indahu ilmu sa'ati is khabaru inna. The complete nominal sentence, as we can see here, is khabaru inna. So this is a nominal sentence. All right. Shibhu jumlatin, as we said, that it can be a prepositional phrase. It can be jar majroor. Ka'annaka min as-sini. So where is ismu ka'anna?
The ka.
Ka, excellent. As dhamir al-mukhatab. So we can see here that this is ismu ka'anna and khabaru ka'anna is jar majroor shibhu jumla. It looks like we are from China. And dharf, as we said, dharf plus mudaf ilayh. So the complete construction, what do we call it? Dharf plus mudaf ilayh. لعل المدرسة عند المدير. So we can see over here عند المدير is what? ظرف plus
Mudaf
مضاف
ilayh.
إليه. Yeah. So we can see here المدرس is basically اسم لعل and عند المدير is خبر لعل, which is basically ظرف plus مضاف إليه. So similar to, we know that basically khabar can be mufrad, it can be a complete sentence, and it can be shibhu jumla. Similarly, khabaru ka'anna or khabaru inna can be similar. It can be mufrad, it can be a complete sentence, both verbal and nominal, and also it can be shibhu jumla, which is jar majroor or dharf plus mudaf ilayh. لا يجوز تقدم خبرها عليها. However, its khabar cannot be brought forward. ولا على اسمها فلا يجوز غفور إن الله. It's not possible to say غفور إن الله. Grammatically it is wrong and it does not exist. And similarly, إن غفور الله is also wrong. So we need to remember that we cannot change this pattern. It has to be like this, as we can see, إن الله غفور رحيم. يجوز توسط, go between. It's possible to go between خبرها بينها وبين اسمها. However, the khabar can go between them, between ism, and there is a possibility that it can go between two nouns. When إذا كان الاسم معرفة والخبر شبه جملة, when the ism is a common noun. Let's look at the examples and it will be inshallah clear. If the khabar is shibhu jumla, it may precede the ism, then it can come before the noun. Inna ilayna iyabahum thumma inna alayna hisabahum. So where is ismu inna and where is khabaru inna?
Yeah, Alayna is khabar inna. Ustad.
Ilayna, yeah, ilayna. Yeah.
Hisabahum is ismu inna.
Yeah, we know that here it is mansub, so we know that ismu inna is mansub and ilayna is jar majroor. And now we can see over here that jar majroor can come before khabaru inna. It's possible. And why does it come? Do you remember that? I told you several times. Excellent, for the purpose of emphasis. Perfect. Thumma inna alayna hisabahum, and then the same construction over here. Now, the original sequence is, as we can see here, inna iyabahum ilayna wa inna hisabahum ilayna. And here the ism is definite, hisabahum wa iyabahum. So the change of order is optional. So it is only optional when ismu inna is a proper noun. Ismu inna has to be a proper noun. However, if ismu inna is a common noun, then it's not possible. Then it is not possible. So when is it possible? Let's have a look at it again. It is only possible when ismu inna is a proper noun. Ismu inna has to be a proper noun. Hisabahum, why is it a proper noun? And iyabahum, why are they proper nouns?
The pronoun is attached to that.
Excellent. So mudaf mudaf ilayh. Excellent. So we know that whenever the attached pronouns are used with a common noun, it becomes a proper noun. Excellent. ويجب ذلك إذا كان الاسم نكرة, and it is also possible to do that.
I cannot see your screen. Is that only me?
Sorry?
I cannot see your screen, Ustad.
You can't? Everyone? Can you see the screen?
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
I can see it.
Okay, okay. So maybe, sister, you can maybe
I'll log out and
log out and log in again. Yeah. But if the ism is indefinite, it is compulsory. But now there is a condition. Remember this, please. First, look at the example. Inna ladayna ankalan wa jahima. Now here, ankalan wa jahiman, we can see over here, these are common nouns. These are what? Common nouns. Okay. So when we have common noun, and then we have, they are, of course, they are ismu inna, and khabaru inna is ladayna, which is basically lada, if you remember, is a dharf, bamana inda. Ladayna is dharf plus mudaf ilayh. So now it is a must that we have to bring dharf plus mudaf ilayh before the noun or before ismu inna. Why? Because it is a common noun. So when it's a common noun, ismu inna is a common noun, then it has to come before khabaru inna. The second example here, inna ma'al usri yusra. So now you can see here, yusran, is it a common noun or proper noun? It's a common noun. So that's why it is mansub. Why it is mansub? Because it is ismu inna. It is mansub because it is ismu inna. However, ma'al usri has to come before it because it's a combination of, it's a jar majroor, or we can say dharf plus mudaf ilayh. So that's why it has to come before this. If you remember the example in book 2, fi qulubihim maradun. So we see over there, whenever ismu inna is a common noun, it has to come in the end, or it has to come after khabar. It cannot come before khabar. So look here. Here it says, here it is incorrect to say inna yusran ma'al usri or inna ankalan ladayna. It's not possible. So in this case, whenever ismu inna is a common noun, it has to come after jar majroor, or it has to come after dharf plus mudaf ilayh. Is this clear?
Yes, Ustad.
Okay. Excellent. And that's it. We are almost finished. يجوز دخول نون الوقاية على إن وأن وكأن ولكن فنقول, and we say. So you know that whenever we have ya al mutakallim, you know this ya al mutakallim, when you are talking about yourself, so then there is a possibility that we can use ya al mutakallim directly, or we have to insert a noon al waqaya, as we can see here over here. So here we have, we can see here that there is one noon of inna, and then there is another extra noon, which is basically called noon al wiqaya, right? So it is possible, and it's used in both ways in the Quran. Inni is used, and innani is used, and inna and innana, both of them are used in the Quran. Similarly, annani wa anni wa ka'annani wa ka'anni, and lakinnani wa lakinni, they are used, and it's possible that you can insert noon al wiqaya, and also possible that you don't have to insert noon al wiqaya. Where? With inna, anna, ka'anna, and lakinna. However, when we talk about layta, أما ليت فلا تحذف منها إلا نذورا. نظر ينظر, نذورا is a masdar. When there is, we can say like there is exception, or it has to be dropped. Why? Because you remember the reason why it has to be dropped? Or I mean, noon al-wiqaya has to be added. Layta plus ya al-mutakallim. We have to add noon al-wiqaya. Why? Does anyone remember? Layta, layta and ya al mutakallim, laytani, right? So why do we have to add noon al wiqaya with layta?
to prevent that from getting this thing like a kasra.
Layta ends with fatha, right? And ya al mutakallim requires a kasra before it, right? So now it's not possible to read it at layta yi, doesn't make any sense. So that's why this noon al wiqaya is added to this, and it becomes laytani.
And with ya, the kasra is more appropriate. Right?
Yes, it's appropriate. Yeah, they are compatible. So that's why we have to add noon al wiqaya. So that's why it is laytani. However, so look at the exceptions. So with later, it is a must to add. But when we talk, sorry, here's later, it is a must. But when we talk about la'alla, then it is not to be added. You can take it as an exception, or that's how it is the Arabic language. So 99.9 times we have to add it. But when it comes to la'alla, as we can see here, وأما لعل فلا تدخلوا عليها إلا قليلا. There is a possibility as well. فنقول لعلي. So noon al-wiqaya is not used with لعل. As the Sheikh has clearly mentioned here, فلا تدخلوا عليها إلا قليلا. So that means it is rarely used, but in the Quran it is not used. And as we know that we are focusing on the Quran, so if you see the verse from the Quran, فَجْعَلْ لِي صَرْحًا لَعَلِّي أَطَّلِعُ إِلَى إِلَهِ مُوسَى. So we can see over here clearly لَعَلِّي, as Firaun said, to make something, to make for him a tower so that he may look at the God of Moses. He said that to Haman, right? So فَجْعَلْ لِي صَرْحًا لَعَلِّي. Yeah. So we can see over here that it's not لَعَلَّنِي, it is لَعَلِّي. So with later, noon al-wiqaya has to be added. And the example from the Quran, Ya laytani kuntu turaba. And with la'alla, it doesn't have to be added. And the example from the Quran is, فَجْعَلْ لِي صَرْحًا لَعَلِّي أَطَّلِعُ إِلَى إِلَهِ مُوسَى. All right. So I hope everything is clear. Any questions? Okay. So Alhamdulillah, we are done with the lesson. And this lesson also consisted of lots of new ideas. And we started with form number. Which form did we start with? We started with form number 6. Yeah, it's been a long journey, so that's why we started with form number 6, and then we continued. And Alhamdulillah, today we are able to complete it. And inshallah, we might possibly discuss like the examples from the Quran as we usually do, and some vocab and some other verbs from the Quran. And inshallah, after that, we will start our lesson number 22. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.